What's going on, everybody? How we living today? Welcome to the next episode of The Fool's Den. Today I've got a special guest. He is someone that I consider a conspiracy theorist by definition. Every friend group, every family has that one. Um, he
Well,
is the founder of the Nomad Golf.
in theory,
In theory, you're the founder.
right?
Well,
And hey, well, it is my pleasure to be on your podcast, and I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to your audience.
that's very well put. That's very well put. Well, I'd be remiss not to put on the person that showed me how to do this thing in the first place. The
Hey, it's
person
all
that
love.
taught me, hey, how to have conversation.
It's all love. It's all conversation. It's all connected. Everything is connected. And I digress. I don't consider myself a conspiracy theorist. I do like to go down the rabbit hole, right?
Okay.
I do like to go down the rabbit hole. I am an avid ancient alien watcher on the History Channel. So I will go down the rabbit hole and my mind is open to those possibilities.
So what you got? Ancient aliens. What do you mean by that? Like when we're talking about ancient aliens, are we talking about like the Anunnaki, for instance? Are we talking about like, hey, we didn't necessarily build these pyramids, ancient aliens?
Well, if you think about, I mean, if you think about how the pyramids and how much those stones weighed and how meticulous they were in reference to the setting up of the pyramids with nature and the sun. What they did back then, we can't even do now. We can't duplicate now, right?
That's very true. That is very
I
true.
mean, if you look at I mean, and some of those stones weigh 2 and 3 tons, right? And they fit in place perfect, like I can't put together a 500-piece puzzle. You know what I mean? So for them to be able to do what they did, I mean, there had to be an otherworldly, you know, assistance. I
If there
think
was,
there was
I
some
think
otherworldly assistance there, and I think we would be naive to think that that wasn't possible.
so. You're saying someone came down from above and essentially handed us fire, so to speak.
I think that's a misconception. Maybe they did come from above, but what if they came from below? What if they came from the water?
I mean, 70% of the ocean is undiscovered, so who's to say
Right.
what's really still down there?
I mean, I think we get caught up in reference to where they came from, but we know. I think we know they came. You know what I mean? I think there's some consistency there because if you think about it as human beings, we really we really don't create anything, right? We really don't we don't the things that we need, right? We don't create trees, we don't create air, right? Like Cat Williams said, we got the ingredients to water, but we can't make it. You know what I mean? So it came
Okay, I
from
see where you're coming
somewhere. So
from.
there is a higher source. There is a higher being. So yeah, I think it's very plausible that yeah, that could happen.
So you're saying the aliens come from underneath, then technically wouldn't we be the aliens at that point?
I think we're a byproduct. I think we're hybrids of those beings. I think.
In what way?
I I think we were created probably somewhat as almost kind of like court gestures for them, something for them to do. You know what I mean? I think we were created as their worker bee, so to speak, right? To come down here and mine all these great assets and natural resources that we have here.
So if that would be the case, then would there be really any point as to what we're doing here? Would
Well,
we all be on the fool's journey then? I always like to round it back to that.
Well, I think we get here by choice. I think we're, and this is another one of my hot sports opinions. I think before we're born, we choose our parents. We choose the life that we're going to have before we're even created. I think, right? And another hot sports opinion. When we die, I think obviously that's the ending of our physical body, but the essence and our spirit, our soul, well, it moves on. And then I think we come back.
Now,
If we done it right.
if we get
If we
into
done it
the,
right, I think our souls we get to come back.
I love the concept of reincarnation, right? But if we get into it and we talk about do aliens exist, whether they come from below us or above us or however so that is, then will we not have to put into, account what if we haven't always been reincarnated into humans? What if you were once upon a time that alien?
Right. I mean, well, and I don't even know. I know that's the common term is alien or whatever, but I don't even know if it was necessarily because once again, everything as far as words and all that stuff, we're the ones that give them meaning, right? So if we're defining alien as another being, outside our
An
system
intergalactic,
or
you know.
galaxy or whatever, okay, that's how we're defining it. I don't know if they would necessarily define themselves as aliens because they were
Okay.
here first, right? If they were here first, how would they necessarily be the alien if they create? Because I think they probably helped create what we have here,
Oh,
right?
so you're saying we're Christopher Columbus in it right now. We're saying,
Absolutely,
hey,
absolutely. If you think about it, a lot of the things that we were taught growing up in school, as we've gotten older, we've learned that those things weren't necessarily true. It wasn't necessarily accurate, right? The one thing that is true to the victor goes the spoils. So whoever wins the war is the one who gets to tell the story, and they get to write their history, right? And they can change that however much they want to. And sometimes, not to get all political or whatever, but sometimes when you know somebody's lying to you, when you first hear that lie, right? Oh, that dude lying. But once you hear it about 1,500 times, it becomes true all of a sudden, or it's accepted as true, which I think is problematic, which is getting us a little further away from my whole story of being on aliens, though. But with that being said, I guess the end result is my mind is open to the possibility that yes, I think there are aliens. I also think we would also be naive to think we're the only ones in our universe like us. That there's an inhabitable planet similar to ours, right? I think we would be a little naive to think that would be the case.
I see where you were getting at when you went to that political side, because then I was remembering what was that young woman's name? Elizabeth Taylor back in the either the 50s or the 60s when she played Cleopatra.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you come
And you
back
had
to
who was that you had playing? You had Tarzan, or even more closer to home, the Lone Ranger. He was based off of Bass Reeves.
a lot of people don't know that though.
Right, exactly. I mean, even more so, Jesus.
A lot of people just figured that one out and they
Right.
still
I
mad.
mean, come on, and I think it goes back to just as human beings, it's a common thing,
You
right?
said you were
You
holding this
can't
over.
be what you can't see, right? So if you don't see yourself as these individuals, you don't think you can be in the place of those individuals. That's
So
why
it's about,
representation is
would you
important.
say, you would have to reprogram your mind in a sense to be able to understand that you can do the impossible
Well,
to a
I
certain
think
extent.
uh,
Because what's
I'll
I
go down
and
a
this
different
this
path.
this is
So,
what I mean by to a lot of people the impossible is um for some people growing up in whatever environment that they grew up in, that's all they see. It's
right,
impossible for them to see themselves living and a grand mansion or see it's impossible for themselves to see themselves in suburban neighborhoods and things of that nature.
I don't
But
think
then when you
anything.
understand where you come from, then you're like, oh, that's easy. We can pivot there.
I
And
don't think anything is impossible. Anything that you can imagine, anything that's in your imagination, you can do it. If you focus, you can do anything you want if you focus on it and you believe in it enough. Regardless of what anybody else says, regardless of what the world tells you, because the world will beat you down. If you believe in yourself enough and you have enough faith in yourself and the universe, God, however you want to have whatever you believe in, you can achieve whatever you think. So if it's
if you
in your,
believe it,
if
you
you
can
think
achieve.
about it, we live in everybody else's dream world. If you think about it, it's a dream world that we live in. Somebody
How
dreamed,
so?
the Wright brothers, or actually, I think it was a black man who actually was the first person to fly, not the Wright brothers, but somebody dreamed of flying, right? Somebody dreamed of, okay, hey, we don't want to ride horses all over the place. We're going to create a car. Somebody dreamed of that, right? Somebody dreamed of having laptops and Wi-Fi and television. Somebody had that dream, and then they put it out there and they created that. And so now we're living in that dream. So I think, yeah, there's nothing impossible if it comes into your imagination. If you believe hard enough, you work. Now you still got to put in the work, right? You still have to put in
Not
the work.
gonna fall in your lap.
Exactly. It's kind of like when people say after a horrible, tragic accident, oh, thoughts and prayers. Prayers only work when you pray with your feet, right? It's amazing what happens when you start praying with your feet. You got to take action, right? Like Jay-Z said, there has to be actionable items taken. You can't just, kneel and pray. There has to be other things that you have to do to take action for those things to happen. But if you believe and you take action, there's nothing that you can't do.
I like that. I like that. That's very well said. That goes with my ethos of believing in yourself. Mm-mm.
Exactly. I mean, we're all gods. I mean, we are because we're made in His essence, right? So I mean, we are all gods of our own particular universe. So if you believe in yourself that much, like I tell my manager all the time, there's nothing I don't think I can do. I don't care what it is. There's nothing that I don't think I'm capable of doing. And if I haven't done it, it's only because I haven't focused on it yet. My
You
issue
know
is that
that
maybe I just should have dreamed bigger, right? But there's nothing that I'm not capable of doing.
I loved everything you said until you said your manager, because I always remember one lesson I had to learn the hard way. The worst thing you could say to somebody is yes.
Oh, absolutely, because it is expensive.
Hmm.
Yes, it's probably one of the most expensive things that we can do because first and foremost, it's going to take your time. And time is the one currency that we continue to spend without knowing the balance. So you got to be careful. You know what I mean? You got to be careful. I very rarely say yes. You know what I mean? Unless I absolutely know I'm going to do it. At this point, I used to say yes all the time, knowing I wasn't going to do it, and then people start figuring out that I wasn't going to do it anyway. So
You know
now I'm
what?
just very careful about saying yes and making a commitment to do
I
something.
just I just hit that knowledge in my life now. Because before I was always saying, hey, yeah, I can do that. But that's a
Yeah.
good way to burn yourself out too.
Oh, absolutely. And then it goes back into you trying to, because as human beings, part of what we're supposed to do too, especially as we get older, we're supposed to be able to pour into the next generation. But you can't pour into people when your cup is empty. But you
That's
also
true.
can't pour into people if they got the lid on their cup. So you got to be mindful and aware of the individuals that you're trying to pour into because everybody's not ready to receive, right? And we have to be mindful and understanding of that. Once again, we're getting away from the alien, but that's just the being of me, right? That's just that. Hey,
Well, you know what? I prefaced everybody earlier in my you know first episode. I like the law of contradiction, so like all of my ideas are just gonna come out, and
right?
some of them are gonna conflict with the other one. But you're gonna understand where I'm getting from because this is just the fool's journey, and the fool's journey you always have to be learning something.
Absolutely. That's why I'm such a big fan of Kanye. Not as much the new Kanye now, but the old Kanye, because the old Kanye had some. Hey, he had some jewels.
He did. He was dropping gems all the time. I'm glad that he finally said, "Hey, I'm gonna take away some of this stuff that I put in my catalog. I didn't mean it." He did. He did apologize. He's
Yeah,
living the
no,
human experience, and we all make mistakes. We are all flawed in some way, shape, or form.
and that's a beautiful thing what you said, human experience. That's what we're all doing. We are all having a human experience, and everybody's experience is different, right?
It
I mean, and
is.
we have to be mindful of that, and not to get into the religious thing, no, but like a lot of people, especially old people, when you talk about religion and God, a lot of old people say, "Hey, I just need a little bit more grace and mercy," right? So we have to be willing and able to do that for our fellow humans, right? Provide them with that same level of grace and mercy that we want, right? Or that we expect from God, or because there's only one God, no matter how many religions it is, it's still only one God, whether it's God, Allah, whoever, Prince of Peace, it's still only one God if you believe in that realm. But then if you go back to the beginning of time, they had multiple gods, right? You had the sun god, you had the gods of the sea, you had the sky god, you had all these different gods. So it just depends on what you believe in. And at the end of the day, does it make you a better human being? That's what it comes down to. Because I think the golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If you follow that, I don't care what you believe in, you should be good.
I like that. I like that. But when we talk about other gods, that just got me back into the whole alien thing, and it got me thinking what the Greeks had said when they originally created their theology of sorts. And it was they used that in order to explain certain metaphysical phenomenon that was going on around them. So this was just how they saw things, like, hey, and then you get the story of Prometheus giving them fire, which could, some way, shape, or form be knowledge of a certain sort. But a lot of those stories we start to realize get played out over and over. So what if we're listening to our world's history
Right.
in a sense? Because we understand there's only one source. There's I guess there's multiple. It's like someone once told me, there's one message, multiple messages.
Right, right. Well, this is the thing too. The great philosopher Ricky Gervais said,
I haven't heard of him. Where is he from?
I believe he's a Brit. He's from across
Mhm.
the pond. He's worth a Google. Great philosopher. But what of the many things that he said was if you if the world all of a sudden just was combustible, bust into flames or whatever, and all the religious teachings and books were burned, right? A lot of the things that are in those religious teachings and books will not be recreated. But the science and those science books, those things could be recreated because it's a constant, it's consistent, right? There's no gaps there. And then even in science, where there is a gap, Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson said that's what a lot of people like to call, for lack of a better term, the God gap, when it's something that they can't,
Can't explain.
they can't put a formula to, right? So, oh, well, God must have created. Well, maybe, but maybe we just haven't figured out the formula into how it was created yet. Because we thought the earth and the world was created from the Big Bang Theory. Now we know that, hey, that's not necessarily the case, right?
I got a theory something's in the water. I don't
Oh,
It's not just a saying
absolutely.
anymore.
Absolutely. I think there's something in the water. And then what if the water is actually the sky and the sky is actually the water? Meaning, what if the water is actually above us and the sky is actually below us?
You're getting into anime theory at this point. And what
So,
I mean by anime theory is there's a lot of stories out there in Japanese culture where they actually explore the universe in that concept. And it's wild how they go about it. But then after you sit there for a little while, you're really like, oh, that actually might be a thing.
Right. I think there's a lot of theories out there. And the thing about theories and even conspiracy theorists, I think if it lines up with your thought process and your ideology, then it's going to make sense to you because it lines up with your thought process and your ideology. Me, my thought process, I'm just open to the possibility. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but I'm not closed off to be like, no, there's no way that's happening. Right. I just think there's a possibility. Like, not to go back to religion, but like for Christianity, they feel that okay, there's the Holy Trinity, God the Spirit, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. The only way you're going to get to heaven is if you believe in Jesus Christ. No matter what bad things you do, you can ask for forgiveness, right, before you die, and then you have the opportunity to go to heaven or whatever, as long as you've accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Okay,
Mhm.
but what if everybody's religion doesn't believe that? So you're the only way, right? You're the only way to do that. I don't necessarily think that's the case, but that's just me. I think you have to be open to other options and other possibilities.
I've always liked the theory of the concept of the heart against the feather. You weigh your heart against the feather. So like all everything you've done in your life, all of it encompasses against is weighed against a feather. And if you did good, hey, good paradise for you. If not, hey, well, you got some things to figure out.
Mm.
And then you just start those karmic lessons once again.
So you get to come back and retry it and you get a
Mhm.
redo.
Yeah, so it's like you know, it's not a win-win or a lose-lose. It's like, hey, we're gonna learn this lesson until the lesson is learned.
Dude, that's the universe though. That's what the universe does. The universe will continue to give you the same test until you figure it out, right? And that's at least in my thought process, right? And that's the great thing about it, though. I mean, that's the thing about experience too, right? Experience will give you the test first and then the answer. That's what experience does. But that's also what the universe does. It will give you the same test. It may come in a different form, but it's the same test. And until you figure it out, you're not going to be able to move on and move past it. You getting deep. You getting deep. Somebody should have said amen on that one. You're getting deep. You're getting deep out
They're
here.
gonna ask you what church you preaching at next. But no,
Now,
that's a good. That's good because that's exactly what we here at the Fools Dinner are about. We want people to know things like that. I appreciate that.
well, I
That
appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak because I'm going to do a shameless plug on the Smoke Easy podcast. We normally stick to golf and things of a lighthearted nature, but I like the deep dive. I'm a big fan of the deep dive and cracking open the old gray matter and getting in there and rooting around and see what we can find.
that's what we're here. If you ever want to come back to the show, you let us know because I like these talks as long as it doesn't get us canceled.
Exactly, and I've learned to put guardrails on. If you've noticed, I'm trying to stay down the old straight and narrow. I may veer here and there, but I'm not being me.
I'm not gonna have no comment on that. I'm not gonna.
Matter of fact, I got dressed up for this. I got two chains on, right? I put on my two chains. I got more than a few on.
Oh yeah, I got that too.
So
Gotta walk
that's why
around
I
with it.
said, hey, I'm going to be in front of the camera. I'm going to be front facing this audience. I need to let them know it's okay to have jewels. You can have jewels around your neck, your wrist, your fingers, but the most important and the priceless jewel is up here. You got to have jewels up there. You have to be willing to receive that jewelry.
That's what I love to hear. So how do you water that knowledge daily for yourself? You got any tips for the people?
In reference to what now? What was that?
To water into so I always like to use my brain as a plant of sorts,
Okay,
right? So how do
right,
you
right.
water that daily for yourself? Meaning like what do you surround yourself in?
Positivity. I mean, before my feet hit the ground, I'm already saying thank you. for
Gratefulness.
multitude of things. It's everything now. I mean, it took me years to get to this point, but everything for me is grounded in gratitude and understanding how blessed I am. So before my feet hit the ground out of the bed, I've already said thank you. And I've laid probably 10 or 15 minutes going down my Rolodex of thank yous and appreciation. And then all I'm listening to before my day starts is like motivational stuff. And I write down, like I'm a big fan of little notebooks and journals or whatever. Like I went through my drawer and I've got probably 15 or 20 of them that I just bought, and I haven't wrote anything in there, but I just got them just in case I want to write something down. But every day I'll write like I am grateful, I am blessed, I am healing, I am wealthy, I am loved, all that stuff. Then another day it may be uh what I even though I don't physically have it, I say that I have, presenting it from the format of the text that it's in my possession. Even physically, I don't have it, but I speak it into existence.
Oh, so you're manifesting.
Right, exactly. There
Okay.
you go. There you go. Manifesting. That's a
You know,
good
my
word.
generation learned a thing or two.
Yeah, that's a good word. So yeah, I mean, and that's just a recurring process, and it's actually worked wonders. I mean, for me, I mean, I just think that my days are a lot easier now. And that's another thing I do too. I just make sure not only giving gratitude, but I also tell myself, hey, today is going to be a great day. Something great is going to happen to me today. And the way your mind works, right? If you're telling yourself and you're feeding yourself that, hey, great things are going to happen, your mind is going to start looking for great things. No matter how small it is to other people with you, I mean, somebody else may think it's small, but for you, you're like, man, this is a really good thing. Because in this world, right, the world is already ready to beat you up and tell you what you're not and tell you what you don't have, especially if you get caught up on this internet stuff, right? It'll already tell you that, oh man, you don't have this, you don't have that. But if you wake up, you got everything. You know what I mean? If you wake up, you got
This
everything.
side of the earth, hey, you great anyway.
Absolutely. No matter, it's like Cat Williams said, it's like he feels like he's the richest person in the world only because wherever he wakes up, he has everything he needs. Right. And if you can get to that point of consciousness, dude, once again, there's nothing you're not capable of doing. And your life will be, I think it'll just be a lot better and a lot more enriching, not only for you, but also the people you come in contact with.
I like that. I like that. Always shining your light on people.
Absolutely. Let my little light shine, as we used to sing in the choir as I was a little boy. I was a Metho Baptist. I mean, I was raised in Methodist and Baptist churches. Now, not so much.
You know, this meant to be like a 15, 20 minute podcast, and I think we well over that.
Well,
That's
you
man,
got gold. I mean, you got
it's a
good weight.
wealth of knowledge. I appreciate you dropping gem for gem for gem on this.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got, and that's my gift. That's just my gift that I've been blessed with out of my years of struggle and learning and living. So, I mean, and I'll leave you with this, to put a cap on this thing, not to go back to this whole mind, because everything starts with the mind. Everything, because your
Yes.
mental creates your behaviors create your actions create your results.
You know, there's
So
a
every
mantra for that. It's as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. They've been
like
saying this since the dawn of time.
like Universal Soul Circus.
No, it's kind of like what you believe you see.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's why we have to make sure we feed ourselves, because we're the only people that's with us 24/7, and everybody talks to themselves. So if you're going to be with you 24/7, you need to speak positivity into yourself. So it's the story of the two wolves, right? So you got one wolf that's negative, despair. You got the other wolf that is positive and full of hope, and they're constantly fighting, right? So the question is, which wolf wins?
The one that you feed.
Absolutely genius. That's the thing. So we just got to make sure we're feeding the right wolf. That's not saying you won't have bad days, because you will, right? Well, I'll take that back. you shouldn't have a bad day. You should
Yeah,
have a
you
bad
never have a
moment.
bad day.
You should have a bad moment. You can have a bad moment. That's human. That's just a human being. You can have a bad moment, but don't let yourself have a bad day. You know what I mean? Because there's always something to be grateful for. And the thing is, negativity and gratitude can't reside in the same house. So if you're grateful,
Negativity and what can't reside in the same house?
gratitude.
Okay. I like
So
that.
if you're grateful, if you just got to keep a list of what you're grateful for, and if something happens to you that you perceive to be negative, right? Look at that list. Because
Hmm.
here's the thing, even if something, what you perceive to be negative for you, if you always think that the universe or God or whoever is always working in your best interest, even whatever you perceive to be negative, if you have that understanding that this is for my better good, you're going to be fine. Right?
Not
You're
doing
gonna
it.
be fine. You just have, it's up to you to believe. And that's the thing. Nobody can take away your beliefs. You can't let the world tell you what you're not and what you're lacking. It's up to you to tell the world who you are. And if they don't want to believe it, that's on them. Right. And it really doesn't matter what they believe. It's you. Everything's going to come back to you and how you feel and how you believe. And that's
You
the
know
thing,
what?
the
I
blessing.
bet there's gonna be somebody that sees this and they're gonna be like, "Oh, that just felt like a warm hug."
From Winnie the Pooh. And that's just me. I mean, I think that's just me being blessed to be able to be raised by the people that I was raised by. Although, I mean, obviously, I chose them to be my parents. It just happened that it worked out. They provided me with the work. Because there's one thing that I can always say, like my dad. I always think about what he told me growing up, and I always tell people, like he would always say, "Hey, if I want to be impressed, I just look in the mirror." But then my mom, what I remember her telling me, there's a couple of things that she told me. One, never say you hate anyone, just say you dislike their habits or their ways. And then two, be in the world, but not of the world. Which, I mean, that in and of itself is very powerful. But if you take those two statements, be in the world, but not of the world, and then also marry that with, hey, when I want to be impressed, just look in the mirror. That's giving you the audacity to be 100% yourself, be authentic, right? And not really worry about what anybody else says about you because it doesn't matter. That way, guess what? You don't get caught up in these fads. I ain't never walk around with my pants hanging off my butt or whatever. Be who you are. And if people don't like it, they don't like it. But you be who you are. You let people eat the way they want to eat. But you be unapologetically you.
I
But
like
you
that.
want to be a good person.
Oh, always be a good person. Not necessarily a nice person, but
Right.
always be a good person. There's a difference between the two. And as you grow older, hey, you're gonna learn it.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure this is about
People,
to end. I ain't gonna lie to you. We
yeah,
we we on a Zoom. That's why the video quality ain't as great today.
yeah. But trust me, hey, I'm fly.
I've seen it. Yeah, you gotta tell them.
Hey, team move down. I need to give a shout out and a plug to my NIL deal with Timu. I don't know why Trump want to hit them with tariffs, but I mean they do fine by me with their fabric.
You just said that you got a job. You didn't want to do this. You know what? I'm
Edit
bringing
that,
you on the show
edit
again.
that, edit that out.
You know, I edited it out. The
Yeah,
last 3 minutes,
edit
I
that out.
edited it out. You was dropping a lot of gems. I gotta make sure the people